Hi, this is Janice Gadelia, and I'm here to present the proposal for research that I want to take on. The topic is education as a means to increase recycling participation. My motivation to do this is because there seems to be a huge disparity in how much people are actually participating in recycling. And this is something that I've noticed both in my local community and many other places, as well as all over the world, even when I went to visit Brazil. The reason that we need to recycle is twofold. One is because we have so much waste that we're trying to get rid of that we need to be able to handle the volume of waste that we're dealing with. The other one is the fact that recycling means that we're putting the recyclable materials to use. And that's a huge thing. Instead of just throwing it away, we're actually taking those materials and being able to produce other things from them. So first of all, we want to look at the waste management challenges. This is one of the issues that I mentioned. We're dealing with the landfill, and of course landfill is using up land. We are having toxic chemicals. The way they do it, sometimes it eventually winds up leaking into the soil. And again, the land use. We're having so much more things happening as far as development. And of course, we need to have some agriculture. And the fact that we need to use up more land, what do you need to do? Cut down trees usually to make use of it in other ways. So that's the landfill option. The other option is incinerators. Incinerators, on one hand, give you some energy. Of course, it costs a lot to build them. But they actually take all the volume of the waste that you get and decrease it. 90% of that turns into a much smaller factor. The thing is about using the recyclable things, especially plastic, is that it heats up the incinerators a lot. So they cannot really run fast because they have to run slower because they overheat. So you have to run slow, take a deep break, run it again. So that's not very efficient. All these materials can be reused, and so these are the type of materials that don't need to go into the trash and can be recycled. Aluminum, plastic, glass, metal, and paper. Just to give you an idea, when you recycle paper, they make out of it boxes, paper towels, tissues, and more paper. Recycling glass. Glass is 100% recyclable. They basically just melt it down and make new things with that. Make more glass. Plastic. A lot of things you make from plastic. All those things that are shown here in this thing are park benches, bottles, kitchenware, carpeting. All these things come from recycled plastic. Metal, that you can make lots of things with the metal. Little things like, basically it's the cans that we put into there. That's what the recycling does. And you make more cans with it. And other little things too. Bike parts, big things, bike parts. Steel beams, and more cans. Recycled aluminum. Things that you can make from recycled aluminum are bicycle, airplane parts, chairs, new cans, and a lot of more things. It's amazing that they say that with all the aluminum cans that we put in the trash, we could actually, within a year, we could rebuild all the aircraft used in the United States. That's how much aluminum we put in the trash. So, talk about recycling in Pasco County, Florida, because that's where I live. this is what has been on the news a lot, is that they're trying to get people to increase their recycling, and it's currently less than 2%. And because of the growth in the area, the goal is that by 2020, we need it to be at 75%. So that's a huge jump. And how do we make that big jump? It's important to do that because recycling is what's going to decrease the overall waste that either needs to go into landfill or incinerated. If we don't decrease it, we need more land, or we need to build more incinerators, and it's all very expensive. And why not just use the materials instead of building and spending money on burning things? So that's what the goal is. This is what the sustainable approach is, that we try not to have more trash, but how do we use it? And this is what the future holds. So my approach is to educate people about recycling so that people understand why it's important. And of course, how do you do that? You can do that in lots of different ways. Public awareness, media, all kinds of ways. And people are trying to do that more and more. My focus would be on the youth. The reason I did that is because I did look into that a lot, and I see that, well, first of all, the youth are the future. The youth have an idea of, it's their future. So that's very big motivation to make the world a better place for them. And they have energy, and they have, lots of ideas. They're open-minded. They get together and they can put things in place. So to focusing on the youth, I would like to present it to high schools. And as you do that, the idea is to aim for the largest demographic. And to do that, you make sure that you cover all aspects of, high school academically. There's all kinds of classes. There's arts, there's sciences, and the idea is if we just go for the largest demographic. That means that the influence that these youth will have in society, not just in school, but whatever their aspect of society is, their families, their friends, all of that is what, that's why the large demographic is important. Including all grades, even though it's only 9 through 12, there's still a big difference. And I mentioned about the different levels, the basic classes, honors classes, AP classes. So academically, people that are involved in trades, it's just demographics so that you know that all of society is being addressed, not just part of it. So the methodology I would do is to have at a first meeting, do an initial survey to see what their knowledge currently is about recycling and whether or not they're involved at all yet. And also maybe a little bit about what their particular situation is, living situations, if they live in an apartment or a house. And then present to them also about recycling so that they basically learn all the basics and then all the very specifics that are needed for recycling in this area. What are the rules here and what is available here? We have curbside recycling in Pasco County, but you have to do it in a certain way. And so this is presenting them with all the basics so they can be ready to start doing it. And then you invite them, okay, if you understand that this is important, can you be part of this challenge to try to reach this goal by 2020, which is next year, and how important it is. So then you invite the people, you get their information so that you can do follow-up interviews with the participants. So that was the first meeting, presentation, invitation, survey. After that, I would follow up with some interviews to them to see how it's going. maybe some challenges, share ideas and challenges. This is on a personal level to try to understand what their situation is. Are they motivated? Is their situation able to do that? So next would be a second meeting about maybe 4 weeks into the program. We'd have a second meeting, and again, that would also have another presentation, but it would be a positive and innovative presentation, because there's new things happening all the time with recycling, and so to see some positive feedback would be good for motivation also. Sharing ideas, what kind of situations that they're having, if they started and they're excited, and maybe they had other ideas, and even about outreach, because this is something you want to address. Hey, how about having a club at school? How about having some some groups that do this and following up with each other, little contests. That's what you do socially. And again, all this is an upbeat, positive meeting. Since there's other people in the class that might not have joined, invite them if they want to join now, because it's still time. So the rest of the semester is going on, and people are involved in this in different ways, in recycling in their home and in the community. The last meeting is towards the end of the semester. You want to have a final survey, which is pretty much the same survey that you gave at the beginning, but you want to see where they are. They might not have known what recycling was, and they might not have done it very much, or they might be doing it. They might have been doing it a little bit. They might have been doing it at home, but not in the community, not out in public. And so hopefully after all this, their rates of participation would change, either from 0 to something or from something to something bigger. It's all about that. Then that gives you the data. Of course, these surveys, the data you get, you would have an immediate response if your participation is better. But you also want to follow up to understand why. Why is, maybe some people were better, some people weren't. Maybe some people were worse, but you want to follow up to get some feedback, both for the positive and the negative, to understand what are the situations and factors that are involved in the increase. So here's where your final analysis is. You do the quantitative analysis, which is there an increase in recycling? So you get your straight numbers across, is there an increase in recycling? And then you do some demographic comparisons also to see, where do we see this increase? Is it gender, ethnicity, education level, living situations? Maybe it's all the same, maybe it doesn't matter. The qualitative analysis, as I was saying, is because there are different factors and influences to consider. Maybe some people are really good at the community outreach aspect, because the idea is that you're teaching each student, but their involvement with other students and family and community is much bigger. So you basically get a ripple effect. You teach one person, even by example. They're interested, they understand, they start doing it, then their family says, oh, okay, little sisters, little brothers, their siblings, parents, and extended family also. So it's very good. But anyway, so the qualitative analysis gives us feedback of what is positive, what is negative, to try to understand what needs to be addressed further. So here's the outcomes and recommendations. You'll have all the results, positive or negative. You need to present that to the county waste management and to the school board. That way they know that you did this research. They know the outcome, positive or negative. If there was an increase in recycling participation, this is what we're hoping. And this means that this approach is good and we should expand it now, right away. And this is something that would be of interest to both the county waste management and the schools, so they could work together on how that could get done. You could use this model in all high schools because it works. Use a similar model even in middle schools and elementary schools to start getting them on track to having a recycling mentality. And of course, you could use a similar model in other public venues, maybe at a library or something like that. And even more so, you could even apply this to other countries. You would just have to adjust it so that you know what the recycling programs are that are available in those places and adjust it to present it there. If there is no increase in recycling participation, then that qualitative analysis should indicate what the reasons are. Knowing what the reasons are, you need to consider alternative approaches, and that's another step in future research. So thank you for listening to my proposal, and I hope you like it, and maybe you can be involved in recycling too if you're not. Thank you.